race through this.
Quick show.
From the heart of Tigerland, in the brand spanking new studio at Putt Road's Emmy Bank Centre, it's time for the show that's captured the imagination of the yellow and black nation. Talking Tigers. Over to you, boys.
Hi Tiger fans, and welcome to another edition of Richmond's official podcast, Talking Tigers. And it's a much happier Emmy Bank Centre studio this week after the boys got the job done in Brisbane last week. And it's looking forward to a massive fortnight ahead with games against Hawthorn and Geelong to come for the Tigers. Today we'll be joined in the studio by reigning Jack Dyer medalist Daniel Jackson. We'll preview this week's big game and discuss another one of Richo's game-changing theories. And Greeners and Richo, how are we today? Greeners, you're up?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm always happy after a win, AC.
Good
Richo.
stuff.
Seems it's about a week ago, though, isn't it?
Yeah, long
6
time
days
ago.
ago.
Long
A
time
good
ago.
song, Tony.
Yeah, good song.
Just
Well,
about one of
course.
the best we've had, I reckon.
Well, yeah, Hurricane, Bob Dylan's Hurricane, which
Yeah.
is an enormous hit. It was number one for weeks and weeks back in the mid-70s, about 75, 76. But that, of course, is a tribute to Reuben Carter, Hurricane Carter, who's passed away this week, age 76, who was wrongfully imprisoned for nearly 20 years. For a murder he never committed. It was,
Good movie, too, recently.
Yeah,
wasn't it, with
really good.
Denzel Washington.
And a great song. So
Well, thanks for
there we
singing
go.
the whole thing for us
I
earlier
can
too,
actually
mate.
sing it word perfect. It goes for 10 minutes, so we don't have time.
Ages. Hey, we're going to have Dan Jackson in the studio with us shortly. He plays his 150th game this week.
Yeah,
It's a
It's a
pretty big effort for him.
isn't it?
Great effort.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to Jacko about it. But I remember when he first got to the club, he was still going to Carey Grammar, and he was a long way off
He came
playing
here and
league
he
footy.
used to turn up in his school
Yeah,
uniform.
he
or
was in his
something.
school
Yeah.
uniform. But he was a long way off playing one game then, and to play 150 and win a BNF,
Yeah,
what a
it's a
great effort.
Big
Yeah,
effort.
absolutely. Looking forward to that chat.
For sure.
This Anzac week, Tone, we've got some history in terms
Well,
of Anzacs.
we absolutely do. We've had, sadly, a few of our players died representing the country at war and everything.
Yep.
So I'll get on one of those in the time machine this week. We've got one in there just to let everyone know.
Oh, good.
Got a little bit in the
A good
time
time
machine.
machine.
Yeah, no, definitely. But obviously it's a huge, though, very a solemn occasion. But
You're going to do the dawn service this year?
My wife is actually
Yeah.
talking about that,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure I'll be getting up that early.
Yeah, fair enough.
don't
It's a bit ordinary, isn't it?
And rock up
I
at
know.
work until 9:30, so
No,
no
it's a
chance to
bit
get to
early
the
for
dawn
me,
service.
but,
Hey, that's good of you to mention your new segment. For those that don't actually listen to the end of the show to actually hear it, this is Tone's new segment,
Yeah,
Tone's
righto.
terrific Tiger Time Machine
Yeah,
Tales.
Thank you.
So look out for that later on. It's going to be
followed
very
by the
exciting.
gags.
It's got a good sting, the Doctor Who.
It
yeah,
does,
no,
yeah.
it's a beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. How are we going with the video review?
What's happening there?
How are we going with it? I know you've ranted about it on countless occasions.
I think Mark Evans is sick of me ranting about it.
But seriously, the video review, it's become like in cricket with the umpires who will not make a decision on a run out. A bloke might get run out by 5 metres and they'll still go for the review, and the same with stumpings. Now it's the same in footy with the goal umpires. They will not make a decision.
The James Frawley one on the weekend, the Sunday game, Gold Coast and Melbourne, it was punched a metre out from the line. The ball deviated a metre off Rory Thompson's fist. They went to the review,
Yep.
and for some unknown reason, he decided that it was a goal, that it wasn't touched.
It's just,
Now, I don't know if they become paralysed
well,
by
I
the
think they
analysis
do.
of it.
I think they do. I think they
And
get so...
they can't make a decision.
They won't make a decision.
Because every player on the ground had set up for the kick in.
Yeah.
Every media analyst in all the boxes was just laughing afterwards. James Frawley was laughing.
Yeah.
Every person in the crowd was laughing.
Yeah.
It was sort of embarrassing. But
Yeah. Well, and Monday's game, ripping game between top two teams, Geelong and Hawthorn. Or is about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
4, probably.
but they're reviewing things when they don't have the correct
Unnecessary.
technology
No,
to
right.
review them. Until you get the permanent goal
Exactly.
line cameras
No,
in the
don't
goal
want-
post,
don't do it.
Just forget about it. Once we get it right, we'll give it a go then.
Correct.
I think they brought out during the week that they're going to put them into the MCG and Etihad. I think they're coming soon. So that's
Yeah, it's true.
At least we can
That's a
see
good
if it
move.
works better that way.
because
Yeah.
because on the Foxtel when they have the head cam thing, it actually works really well. You can see there's a good view of the line and
Yeah.
you get a good decision. And you're right, it's the poor umpires. They've got to sort of they don't want to make a wrong decision, so they've got to call it.
So they're just paralysed with making the wrong decision.
At least cricket's sort of a slow-ish sport.
Well,
You can get away with the time it takes to go up there. But anyway, hey Richo,
What?
you've come up with another theory.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
this laser beam thing?
Yeah, they would have heard Saturday Night Footy.
Well, I thought it was sort of had some legs on it, this theory.
Really? Is this like your goalposts?
Yeah, we'll have a listen.
Let's have a quick listen.
Need one of those GPS measuring things, BT, that they have at the golf course. Yep. Give them the meterage.
Be good if we set that up, Richo. That'd be another thing holding up the game.
No, it's just an idea, just a quick click of the button.
It's a strange idea, is Geary.
Why couldn't you just have a laser, you just point it and it gives you the 50-metre mark?
Well, they Bruce. I know where you're coming from, but
Don't sort of dismiss it like you did. Oh, well, it's not a bad idea.
You want to give the umpires a laser so they can count 50. We've got 2 arcs that save 50. We've got grass cut that...
and a square that's 50.
Just a little pocket in your shorts and you just go it out.
Go and fire a laser beam, Richo. There.
Yeah, I am. I'm serious.
Get involved in Twitter. You send us your feedback. You think Richo's onto something with a laser beam on the umpires?
Yeah, just put up the tripod and just send a beam down to hit a stick that points to the ground.
You're exaggerating there. You don't need a tripod. Just whip it out of your pocket.
Pull out a
Let's
laser
have a
out of your
holster.
pocket.
Unusual operator, the big man.
Just a little holster. That's all you need.
Laser in the holster.
Well, over to you, Einstein. Come on, explain your theory.
I didn't explain it that well.
No, you didn't.
What I'm saying is the umpires have a little laser in their pocket.
Yeah.
It's a laser that is designated to put out 50 metres. You go bang and it marks the spot on the ground with the laser 50 metres away, and you don't get it wrong because they gave a 35 metre 50 the other night.
Mate, the laser. It's boom me up, Scotty, with the laser. I think that's what you need.
What
Boom me up,
about at the
Scotty.
golf course? They get the meterage, how far to the flag. Why couldn't you just have something that
Golf's
gives you
much
50
slower,
metres?
mate. Much slower.
Oh, rubbish. You pull it out, bang,
slower.
50 metres.
We've got, and as BT said, and you respect the elder statesman, what he said, right? There's too many things holding the game up now,
It wouldn't hold it up
wouldn't it?
because this would just be, as he's
Well, let's-
running back, he
You
goes,
know what? Let's bring back the place kick as well
all right.
for more accurate goal kicking.
You don't think Bristol liked the idea?
I don't think he was that keen.
I reckon
I think
he's-
Das was a little bit
Yeah, I reckon a fair bit of egging on going on in the Channel 7 complex up there.
very humorous TV.
I reckon
though.
I had
Very
100 responses on Twitter.
Very humorous commentary. Yeah.
And,
Any
positives?
positives?
I reckon I was running at about 99%. You're kidding yourself. Anyway,
Throw it out
No,
there.
good. You just keep putting them out there.
All right.
It's great.
I will.
Because eventually you put 100 out there, one surely will make some sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
will one day.
Hey, you know what did make sense on Saturday
Yeah.
Night Footy while we're talking about that? You were talking about goal kicking and how it hasn't really changed that much. And, geez, you didn't get much support from the boys there. Let's have a quick listen to that.
Aim all times inside left goal post.
Do we let players off too easily, Richo? That is his absolute job. That's what his whole contract to do. Tough kick for Rewalt. He just has to kick a goal 30 metres out.
Well, you do. Yeah, that's what you're paid to do, but it's just not as easily. It's not easy, boys. It's
Schneider.
easier said than done to kick goals with all the pressure. The game stops. Everyone in the ground's looking at you.
Come on, Richo.
It's not that easy.
I mean, people go to work and their
Well,
job
why
is
hasn't it got better than BT? Everything else has.
I put your parking officer. He goes to book people for parking. He don't get many wrong.
No, but why hasn't it got better than
Well, it's
every
one of
other
the great,
skill in the
it's
game
one of the
has?
great mysteries, Richo, and
Because it's
can't
all
understand.
It's all in your head. It's a psychological thing.
How's that?
Well, it is.
Is that little bloke on your shoulder? The little man on your shoulder
I
when
think
you're lining
it's
up?
the only skill that hasn't got better.
Oh,
And it is all to do
100%
with
agree with
pressure.
yes.
And people don't like the pressure of the game being stopped and everyone looking at them.
Right.
And they think of the result
Well,
before they kick it.
You should have kicked blindfolded then. You wouldn't have gone any worse because you wouldn't have been able to see the people looking at you, right?
It's like
and you probably would have, your conversion rate would have been
it's
better.
like
if you
in
kicked
basketball with the free throws.
blindfolded. Right.
That's in your head as well.
So-
Shaquille O'Neal, Dwight
Okay.
Howard.
So how come years ago Peter Hudson, Peter McKenna, Doug Wade, Royce Hart were much better
because
kicks for goal?
they mastered it in their head. Psychologically,
Did they?
they could handle it.
Who's the best kick for goal in the game now?
Jack Gunston, I reckon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, fair point.
And I'm telling you now, it's all in your head. Actually, Tommy Hawkins has improved.
He's
Maybe we
improved
need to
out of
ask
sight,
Tommy
hasn't he?
Hawkins what
How
he's
he's done
done.
it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you should be able to bring out the marshals while you're having a shot at goal. You can
Yeah,
block out all the
marshal.
noise and you
and
can...
perhaps the laser, because then the laser can tell you
Yeah.
exactly how far out you are.
I'm
from
telling
goal.
you now.
And the goalpost a bit higher as well. You're onto something here, I reckon.
I'm telling you
The
now,
laser
goal
and the
kicking
higher
will never,
goalpost.
ever improve.
Never improve.
No, it'll never improve.
Ooh, that's a
Everything
fairly
else in the
sweeping
game
statement.
will improve skill-wise, but not goal
Why
kicking.
don't they practice it more?
Well, exactly right. Why don't
Well,
we?
why don't they?
Well, they do practice it, but they don't practice
No,
it. They
why
don't
don't
practice it under fatigue as much as
And there's
Why
the-
they
don't
probably
they
could.
practice it non-stop?
And there's the other
Those that-
issue.
Yes.
You cannot get the right level of fatigue at training to have a shot at goal, and you cannot get 40,000 people down here to watch you have shots at goal and put pressure on you.
There's no fatigue if you're 10 metres out.
Yes,
Is
there
there?
is.
Of course, there is, Tone.
It's 10 metres out.
It's not going to get better, Tone.
Oh. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Tone, we've got another
Coming home hero.
this
This is
week.
our third one. So we had obviously Michael Green was the inaugural, Kevin Bartlett in the Collingwood game, And our third one is Brian Wood, triple premiership player.
Princess.
Great player, Princess, yeah.
He
great
turned
wingman.
60, doesn't he,
He
this
turned,
week?
you know, he turned 60 a few weeks ago.
And looks $1 million
he's
bucks,
in great
Woody.
shape. He is in great shape.
For any of the fans there on Sunday that
he's
haven't
a beauty.
seen Woody, they'll think
Yeah.
he's still playing.
Yeah,
He looks that good.
Yeah, Jizzy was a good player. He was a tremendous player. Probably unlucky in some respects, not in the team of the century. I guess there was a fair bit of romance with that centre line of Burke, Barrett and Clay.
Fair enough.
Which was, geez, they all deserve their spot, don't get me wrong. But, geez, Brian Wood wouldn't have been too far away from making that team of the century. He was a terrific player.
Yeah. Good stuff. So he'll walk out the middle, he'll walk down to the punt road
He'll
end.
walk down to the punt road end and be greeted by the Tiger Army there, kick the ceremonial goal, sign the footy, give it to someone in the crowd. So,
Do you reckon he'd get closer than KB did last week, about 4 metres out, and kick the goal?
Yeah, no, you can kick him from a bit further out,
Yeah.
Woody. Yeah, had a fair boot on him, Woody. Yeah.
There you go. Hey, just before we move on quickly, Hello Newman, the much anticipated series on
New
Raw Vision is
segment.
online. And he knew he goes down to Lidz's house, his mansion, out in the eastern suburbs somewhere. We can't disclose where.
We've said where he lives.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Oh, we haven't.
No.
We're not allowed to say.
No, we're not allowed to.
Okay.
No, he doesn't like people.
Well, he's
Lid.
southeastern.
Hey?
Southeastern.
Yeah. So you must check that out. It's on Raw Vision right now.
Little
so.
cameo from another player on there.
Yeah, in
Look
the
out for a
background there.
Really?
little
Yeah.
cameo. It's a very good, and I enjoyed it. And Scones and his team put that together.
What
It's a
about some of the
great job.
cutaways that Scones had
Oh,
in there
yeah.
with the little
no,
tricks
he's
and stuff?
Very,
in
very
there?
artistic. he
Very
is.
good.
Mm.
So that's a series that's going to be coming all season on Raw Vision. So make sure you have a look at that. And let's get into the emails.
You've got mail.
A few emails here. There's one sent in from Anthony Cupid, which was actually sent in before we went to air last week, but he's got some good points here, and this is it must have been after our loss to the Bulldogs. Every Richmond person is hurting and possibly feeling a bit negative, so I've decided to try and lift everyone's morale with some positives. And he's got here number 1, Dave Asprey completely blanketed one of the very best forwards in the game, so another performance from him. Sam Lloyd had an impressive debut, no arguments there. Matty Arnott, the super sub, we knew he was hard and tough, but showed some poise and class on Friday night, which is good to see from him. And Basher Hall is fast becoming one of the premier halfbacks in the game. Wouldn't be surprised by an All-Australian nod for Basher this year if he continues this form. And he's gone underrated a bit, hasn't he? He's had a really good couple of weeks.
He has very
Starting
important.
to hit his straps.
Very
I like
important.
the fact that he's pointed out those positives, and he's 100% correct with those positives.
Stay on board, Anthony. Well done to you. There's an email from Luke here in Endeavour Hills, and he says, "G'day, fellas. Hope you're going well. I've been to all the Richmond games bar the Gold Coast game this season, and after hearing KB's thoughts on the state of the game, I strongly agree with him. There is way too many players around the ball. I find myself watching the screen at the game because it's so hard to see what's going on. I still think Aussie Rules is the best game on earth, but I do think we need to do something, otherwise we're not going to attract new people to the game. I just want to see if you all like the way the game is played at the moment, and whether you think interchange should be scrapped, or if there's any other ideas to fix the
Well,
problem."
You know
the
what?
right man, you'd have a theory on
Well,
this.
you know
What's your
what?
theory on this?
I do like the idea of trying to keep some forwards at home and stretching it out a little bit so there's not so much congestion. But I don't like the idea of policing it. Imagine having to police guys being in.
Apparently they've introduced it in the TAC Cup
Yeah,
this
it's
year.
not
Is that
being.
right?
It's just a goodwill thing.
You have to
though.
have what?
Yeah.
4 players.
4 players.
Two from
two
each,
pairs
yeah.
inside each 50.
Yeah, okay.
I tend to agree. I've heard Bartel and Nick Grewalt talk about it recently. The game does evolve, and if you're at Monday's game, there's still some outstanding football being played. I understand the new teams has thinned it out a little bit, and I think there are some ordinary games, but just let it evolve. Don't change.
There's always been ordinary
Oh,
games.
well, we just never saw them in the old
Yeah,
days.
so
Yeah.
let's
You
just
only
not
got the
make a
2
drastic
games that
decision.
you saw on TV back then.
Don't
Yeah.
make a drastic rule change. Let's just see what happens for a couple of years.
Dimmer said the other night on Talking Footy that early in the season too, defensive structures are
that's
really
true.
sound, and it opens up later in the year. So looking forward to seeing that. Next email here comes from Boring Jack Revolt. Boring Jack Revolt.
Yeah, okay.
So he says,
This
Ivan,
isn't dull Jack Revolt.
no, boring it
Oh,
says.
okay. Yeah, right, okay.
Ivan Marriage delivered a Humpty Dumpty Easter egg to my house. I said thank you. He said, "Are you going to share the Smarties inside?" I said no. Happy Easter, lads. Love the show.
Okay.
Oh, very good.
So thanks, Boring Jack
I
Revolt.
think that's good.
Is that him, do you reckon?
How's old Balls Newman going?
No, not happening.
He's
No?
disappeared, old Bob.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Disappointing
Enjoyed
too,
that.
because it
I
had
was
some
enjoying
promise.
some of that. Yeah,
Had some
I was
promise.
enjoying some of that.
So, well, if you're out there,
Old Balls.
get back in action, please, because we'll read out some of your tweets
We
on the show.
will.
The next email comes from Sarah Black. He says, "Hi guys, absolutely love the show. It helps break up my 90 minutes commute to uni. There's something great about listening to the podcast as the train pulls out of Richmond Station and goes past Punt Road Oval on the MCG. I'll have an idea for Richo's top 5.
Oh, good. I'll do
he's
that
after a
because I'm
few.
struggling.
Yeah.
He is.
I had an Indigenous politics class with Will Minson of the Bulldogs last year, and it made me wonder who the top 5 academic Tigers are. I'd love to hear your response.
Yes.
Yes, good
well,
one.
we've got one
We've got a
coming
few.
in soon.
Just
haven't we?
remember that we will do that next week,
Yeah.
Tone.
Well,
Yes.
the bloke coming in soon would be right up there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would be.
D. Jackson.
Along with
Yeah.
our chieftain here, El Chieftain.
yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You do the run sheet, by the
Yeah,
way, Richo, so
I will.
you put that in there next week.
Yeah.
P.S. Sarah says, I really enjoyed Greener's time machine tale about the trade wars of the 80s.
Was his best one.
Yep.
Was it?
Much more interesting than the match reports of the 70s, where Royce Hart was either injured or
Yeah,
kicking
no.
5 goals.
Yeah.
More of the same, please.
Okay,
So-
no, I get the point. Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. The next email here comes from Lena, Alan, and Nadine, and they're, of course, from Little Bridge Cafe. Remember them from last
yes.
week?
Still
don't we?
waiting for our gluten-free produce.
Now, hang on.
Oh, okay.
Just
Yeah.
listen in. Gentlemen, just to firstly, just to confirm, the Great Lunch Depression was indeed meant for a laugh. Got to love the Chief Watch segment, which we all do. We were indeed listening and would be more than happy to oblige to Lunch Talking Tigers.
Oh, yes.
Greeners,
Oh, yes.
we can definitely arrange the gluten-free options for you.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
that's-
We just
that's
need a little
good.
menu sent through.
Yeah.
Interesting you say that, Matthew, because they have sent
Oh,
through.
really? What can we read
They
out?
have
A couple of
sent
things
through.
on the
What have they
menu?
got here? Ball is in your court. They say send
Oh, I don't
through
think
a
I'd be eating those.
send through
Oh,
a,
sorry, I
send
thought
through
that-
a daytime of place, and we'll create a Talking Tigers platter.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Next week.
yeah.
Next week, AC.
So let's go through a couple of the platters
Yeah,
here at the Little Bridge
please.
Cafe.
Yeah.
The Old Faithful, which has sandwiches, focaccias, and Turkish rolls with your favourite fillings, and the Parma roll.
They got any
How good does
Mighty
that
Mite?
sound?
They got Mighty Mite
Oh,
and cheese.
right,
Oh, come on,
Tone,
man.
Nothing-
can you
Come on.
believe this?
What's wrong with
Tone-
that?
Tone has Mighty Mite sandwiches at the
Well,
age of
Mighty
60.
Mite is the gluten-free option instead of Vegemite. It's not a kid thing. It's just...
My little nieces have Mighty Mite and cheese at school. You have it and you're 60 years of age,
Yeah,
Tone.
I'm not 60.
Sorry to interrupt you.
I'm not
see?
60 yet.
Hey, the next
food.
platter is Lena's Kitchen platter, which has a daily variety of hot and cold lunches, salads, pastas, roasts, quinoa.
pasta. Quinoa.
Yeah.
Oh, roast. What sort of roast?
Don't know. It doesn't say, but geez, it looks good.
That
The
might be
winter provincial. This is launching in May, which has soups
Yeah.
and Mediterranean home cooked lunches and
that's
take home
huge.
packs.
That's you, AC.
Marinated
Yes.
artichokes. Any mention
Have
of
to
them?
be.
Have to
I
be,
would have
wouldn't
thought. And there's also a sweet platter here too. So
We're going to order one of those next
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
and
We'll
we'll
bring it
actually eat it on the show.
yep,
That'd
there
be
you
good.
go. It's close at 34 Bridge
Except-
Road.
We might even
Bridge
leave-
Cafe.
Matthew's a very noisy eater, so
We
I'm
might
sure
even
will
leave a
do that.
few scraps for the chief to rummage through after we finish.
I don't want to leave it lying around before we get to it,
Yeah,
because
fair enough.
there won't be anything left.
Thanks for all your emails this week. Keep them coming. Talk to Tigers at richmondfc.com.au. The little medical room update now, and there's a few players in here that to be confirmed in terms of when they're back. Brett Delidio, one of those. Obviously, he's dealing with that week-by-week Achilles injury. Jake King, who has hurt his toe, Dimmer mentioned on Talking Footy the other night. He's expected to miss the next couple of games. And Chris Knight's also still dealing with his knee soreness there. So a couple of boys are tests for this week. Aaron Edwards, who hurt his knee a couple of weeks ago in the VFL, he's almost ready to go. Alex Rance also, which is good news for the Tigers. He's got to get through training this week, so we'll see how he pulls up. Matty D, Nathan Foley, Caden Williams also just a week away from coming back from their injuries. And the big one, Ivan Maric, a couple of weeks away, so I'd expect to see him hopefully after the bye, you would have thought. So that's
Very
good news.
Now, you mentioned Brett Delidio very quickly. So last Thursday night, the win against Brisbane. First time in 7 games that we've won without Brett Delidio.
Is that right?
Important, isn't he?
First time we've won without him.
Underrated, you would say.
Yes.
Well, last Thursday night up in Brisbane, we wandered back to the hotel with the Channel 7 crew after covering the game, the Tigers win. And we get back there, and it was Good Friday, obviously, the next day, so the hotel bar was shutting at 12, and after you finish work at 11, you really can't go to sleep,
No,
so you do need a couple of beers or anything just to wind down
So
at
you
the
can
end of the
chew the
night.
fat and just-
So
yeah.
we all wandered into the bar there at the Sofitel, and one of our people on the production side of things at Channel 7 had thought ahead very smartly and had got a box of beers put aside and had them on ice so
Nice,
that because
yeah,
the bar was shutting, we weren't going to be able to grab a beer.
You would have been looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we were all looking forward to it, to wind down, and we all sat around, probably about 8 or 9 of us.
Yep.
And it was at that stage as we sat down and just cracked open our first Bogues draft that we looked over and I see Sitting over the other side of the bar in a little group was our man, the chief.
Oh, the chieftain, yeah.
There he is in the Sofitel.
Of course.
And he's sitting there with John Matthews, one of the directors here at the club, and our
Is
president.
that where the players stay?
Hey?
Sofitel, do they stay?
Good
there?
hotel, the Sofitel.
Yeah, very good
Very
hotel.
good.
5-star hotel. So I went over and said g'day, and I said, "What are you doing here, Chief? You just come around to visit someone, have you?" The boys are staying at the Novotel.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah. He said, "No, I'm staying here."
Staying there.
I said, "Hang on. The boys are staying at the Novotel. You should be staying there."
Isn't he with the team? You're not with the team?
No, not one in all in. You know why?
Why?
He only stays in 5-star hotels, the chief. And the boys were staying in a 4-star Novotel.
He's not elitist at all.
So he is not happy with the 4 stars. Has to be 5-star for the chieftain. So anyway, I said, "No worries, Brendan, I'll leave you to it." He was talking to important people. I went back over to the Channel 7 crew. About 20 minutes later, everyone else goes to bed that he was sitting with.
All right, the bar's closed.
He wanders over, Brendan. He just helps himself to one of our blokes' drafts.
No.
Did not even ask.
What about the poor bloke who
Yeah,
organised
exactly.
it? He
Who's-
didn't sort of check.
Didn't
it was all right by him, or-
offer him any coin for the beer either.
Oh no.
Just started chugging in onto our beers. Didn't have one, had 3.
He has a penchant for just
No.
food and drink out of people's mouths.
Not an offer of 1 cent from the
No,
chief.
It's very disappointing.
So not only does he only stay in 5-star hotels, he's stolen 3 beers off
Wow.
Josh Kay, our stats man at Channel 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Extraordinary.
So this is becoming a trend now.
Yeah, it is a bit of a trend. No doubt.
Continues to give, doesn't he? Just be
does.
careful, Tone. You just got to be on the fence with that, with the chief.
What do you mean?
Well, you're a full-time
Well,
employee.
you weren't.
here.
You put him in last week
No, I
about
didn't.
taking your food.
I wasn't there. I told you.
Oh, please.
I told you that. Let's quickly. I know it was a long time ago, Richo. You mentioned this before, but the Brisbane game. We should go over what happened there. Obviously, the first half wasn't the prettiest game of footy, and the Tigers blew a lot of opportunities early.
Won't even talk about the first half, but
We
what
should have been 8 goals up at quarter time.
Yep.
yeah, but they
Dominated
had
early.
Yeah, just bad kicking. I guess didn't convert our chances. But I thought the second half we were challenged. They got in front, and I thought at that moment in the game our leaders responded. Cochin responded, kicked a beautiful goal out of a pack and lifted his work rate. Jack kicked a couple of important goals, and I thought our mate Newey in that period of the game was sensational at half-back. A couple of desperate efforts and some good rebounding a couple of times that set us up. I thought Newey responded when we needed him most, so I thought our leaders stood up.
And I reckon there was one, and he's not a leader yet, but I reckon there was one young emerging player that also responded. Then I thought Ben Griffiths, his centre bounce work, his follow-up efforts, it was a couple of times. I thought he was terrific in that. Once
good.
Brisbane had hit the front to get us the initiative back.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
And then I
good.
thought we got a good game style going after that for about
Finally,
45 minutes.
Instead of just chipping the ball round, we actually took the game on.
Yeah, got a bit of confidence out of that.
The other positive was Dustin Martin up forward.
Yeah,
what do we
there's
think?
no
What do
doubt.
we think of him? 3 goals and 18 touches. He's not going to get 30 touches playing the forward line, but he'll go into the midfield at times and he'll have an impact.
You like it, Richard?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think he has the ability to kick, maybe even 50 goals a year if he stayed there. But if he's having 18 touches and kicking 3 goals, I reckon that's better than having 25 to 30 in the midfield.
Can you see him developing into have that role like good mate of yours?
Mark Rashuda.
Nathan Brown, I was going to say.
Yeah, could do.
That sort of so Brandy could roll through the midfield.
Yeah.
But he was predominantly a forward and a very dangerous one, obviously, and a
Yeah.
very, very good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's that similar type of player. Got the ability to go on ball, but can kick 50 goals, which Nathan Brown did. Was All-Australian twice doing it.
Yep.
And the best of the best at that was Mark Rashuda
Yeah.
from Adelaide,
He was,
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a luxury to have, and he's such a tough matchup too up forward.
Yeah,
You leave
he
him
is.
one-on-one and push the others up, and he's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah.
Dave Asprey and Troy Chaplin were excellent last week as well. Luke McGon obviously came into the side, former Tiger, didn't have much of an impact, and I know that the Lions are undermanned, but defensively, I think the 2 tools stood up well, and Dave Asprey's having a great season so far.
Yeah, it was a good stat, I think, before the game. Look, obviously, Jonathan Brown was, had a pretty good game in his 250th,
Yep.
but thought Dave Asprey still did a really good job. But I think the stat was before last Thursday night. I think he'd been involved in 22 one-on-one contests with his opponent. He'd won every one of them.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
John O'Brien took a couple of good
yeah,
marks.
he did.
but
Yeah.
still pretty good, Dave.
He got one goal that was outrageous. That centre bounce that just
Oh,
shocking
yeah.
centre bounce that
Yeah.
they took advantage of, and he just fell into a
Crucial
mark
time of
and
the
hit it.
game too.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
they put him a couple of
shocking
goals down.
bounce,
So,
yeah.
well, it was a happy coach after the game. I was never really 100% happy, but let's hear from the coach post game. wouldn't have been happy with the second term, but the way his senior players stood up in the third term and really fought back, you must have been pleased with that.
Yeah, we talked about it at half-time. We had to rectify a few things. Even the start of the third, I think they actually headed us at one stage there, which just couldn't quite get the game out of our back half there for a while. Got to give credit to Brisbane. Obviously, they were playing for a legend, not only their club, but a legend of the game, which they were always going to come back and come back hard. So we always knew they would.
Yeah, Timmy there, be a relieved man to get a victory up there. No easy games travelling on the road, even though the Lions weren't travelling all that well, but good to make that one.
And as he said, they got up for Jonathan Brown's 250th, and we're always going to be pumped up for that too. So.
Spot on. The votes from the game. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
You go first.
Okay. Yeah. I gave one vote to Jack Riewoldt. I thought he played really well, set the tone early, got us off to a reasonable start, and then when challenged, as I said before, he kicked his goals in important times, didn't kick the junk time goals, so they're the most important ones. One vote to Jack Riewoldt, took some nice marks, jumped at the footy. Two to Ricky Pettard, he's really improved as a footballer.
He's an underrated player, isn't he?
Yeah, had his injury concerns his whole career and still does have them at times here, but whenever he's come back into the side, he can play anywhere now. He's a good swing man, I guess, and I thought he was terrific. And three to Trent Cotchin, he was clearly the best player on the ground. Koch, and we've talked how good he is week after week.
I got the same three players, just slightly different order. One to Ricky Pettard, two to Jack Riewoldt, and three to Trent Cotchin.
I gave one to Nath Gordon, the Flash, who couldn't have done any more coming on. Kicked 3 goals and ran 7 Ks and whatever else he did, but you couldn't ask anything more of him coming on as a sub. Trent Cotchin I gave 2 votes for all the same reasons, and I gave 3 to Riewoldt just because his work rate was outstanding. He kicked 4 goals, he had 15 disposals, 8 in the first quarter. So clearly he was running up and down. You're right, Richo, he was jumping for his marks, and it was his best game for the season. So I thought he had a massive impact.
Well done. Well, the leaderboard, Koch
he's a runaway leader, isn't he?
He's on 27 votes now, and the next best is our man Jack on 11. Thomas, Lloyd and Pettard on 9. Jackson 7. Delidio 5, Asprey 5, and then a few other boys under that.
I wouldn't be surprised if the skipper's got 8 or 9 Brownlow
I knew you were going to say that. I was going to prompt you, but I knew
I reckon he might just have 8 or 9.
Says it
in
every
his little pocket already.
So what is it? Round 6?
Round
just
5.
after round 5. There you
Could
go.
have 8 or 9.
Could have
going
polled
already.
him
I
for.
reckon he's got 8 or 9.
You reckon he's leading it? Right
He'd
now.
be right up there.
I
Right
think
up there.
Gaddy might be.
But he'd be right up there.
There you go. Now the quiz
Yeah.
question. Now how do we go with this quiz
Well, the question last week had 2 answers.
Okay.
It was a trick then.
It was.
Right.
And
It's a trap for young players.
And I would have
isn't it?
taken either one. And it was who has been an assistant coach at both Brisbane and Richmond. And Justin Lepich is the answer. And who got that one?
And Neville Kenyon. Old mate Neville Kenyon, who always emails in. So well done to
So
you,
Lepper
Neville.
was an assistant at Brisbane, then came down here, now back at Brisbane as senior coach.
But
there
who
was,
else?
There was one other, Wayne Britton.
I'm
I'm pretty sure.
You sure there's only 2?
Well, there might be another one.
Oh.
Craig McRae might be as well. I'm not sure. There could be 4 or 5. But we've got a correct answer. I didn't put much thought into it.
No, clearly not.
But we got a
maybe you need
correct
a
answer.
laser next time you come up with
but this week, there was only one answer.
Right.
Which man,
Which man?
Which man
yeah.
coached the Hawthorn Football Club
Yes.
and was also my first senior coach?
Ooh.
Now, don't...
Did he coach another club as well?
He may have.
He did coach another club,
He
didn't he?
did coach another club.
Yes.
He coached 2 AFL clubs,
Yes,
and he
he
was
did.
my first senior coach.
Yes.
Now, just listen to that word,
Oh.
senior.
Was he a good coach?
Yes, he was. I loved him.
Did he take you for goal kicking?
All right, go give it
No,
away,
don't
mate.
do
Just
that.
relax.
No,
Let
I'm
the
just wondering
people.
if he took you for
He
goal kicking.
certainly took me for marking practice. There's a little hint. One of the best marks of all time.
Yes.
Let the people work it out.
And so was this bloke.
Hey?
And so was this bloke.
Yes. Well done.
Yeah.
So email those in, the Talking Tigers at richmondfc.com.au, or you can tweet us at Talking Tigers, hashtag Talking Tigers. Now we are going to bring in the reigning Jack Dye medalist. Jacko, thanks for coming in, mate.
AC, thank you for having me.
It's a big week for you, 150 games. I broke that to you yesterday, did I? You're not aware that you're playing your 150 this week?
I knew it was coming up
Yep.
at some point, yeah. I haven't kept track.
Do you think about it much? Is it a massive milestone for you?
Well, I think, pretty obviously. I haven't
now.
thought too much about
Well,
it.
it's like you qualify now for life membership.
Yep.
Well,
That
means
part's
something.
important. Yeah. I guess I spent the whole summer worrying about when I was going to play my first game, let alone when I was going to play the fourth one for 150. And I knew I was close too, but with this hammy stuff I was having the issues with, I was more focused on that. And every week it's been, all right, can I get up for the next one? Can I get up? So then when someone said it's your 150, I thought, oh, geez, that's a good result.
Yeah.
I've made it 4 games in.
Yeah.
But good. Sorry, Matthew.
No,
But good to
you
hit
go,
the
Tony.
150 at a proud club like steeped in history to
Absolutely.
qualify for life membership.
Well, Green, as you've been here longer than me. You've been
Yes,
the only.
I
Well,
have.
actually, Ricky's been
I
here longer
have,
than me
yes.
too, but he left and come back, and this doesn't quite count right at this point in time.
No,
but
true.
you'd both remember that when I first came, I was no chance to play 150 games. That's for sure. We're rocking up my school uniform.
I remember, Jacko, coming from Carey Grammar.
Yeah.
I think your first camp may have been down at Wilson's Prom, Jacko, I remember. And it's gone, it goes pretty quickly, your career, but it's been a journey, mate. It's been a pretty hard journey for you.
Yeah, it's been a long one, very long one.
Yeah.
I mean, I went down as a 17-year-old. I was drafted, went down to that camp. I think I must have just been finishing my year 11, and I was that far off the mark back then. I look back now. My first training session, I don't reckon I could even hit a 15-metre target. Like the system's different now. You just don't get guys like us that come through. Everyone's they're well bred basically to play football. And I definitely wasn't one of those guys, and it's taken me years and years and years to learn how to do it. And I'm still learning.
So what about the last couple of years, the turnaround in your form, winning the BNF last year, that sort of thing? Can you put it down to one or two things that have turned your sort of career around?
I think initially I just needed time to develop. Dimmer, when he came in with his system all about learning, it was focused on building guys up from the bottom up, not trying to, not focusing on the top echelon of blokes, it was focused on the bottom one. So even though I'd been around a while, I was able to build in skill development that I'd probably shortcutted over the years. I think for me, it's always just been hard work. My natural ability in regards to my fitness has got me this far. So I've been able to, once I was able to couple that with a little bit of playing ability, it seemed to help. So that just, I guess, enabled me to play consistent footy, which is what won me a BNF last year. I think more than anything, nothing too outstanding, just doing what I need to do every week. I guess the other part is I started to enjoy myself last year, having a bit more fun. We were winning games, which made it a bit more enjoyable, and then every week I was looking forward to, rather than my first few years, which it was a daunting task to get up to play on the weekend. Did
the fact that you won that Jack Dye medal last year and had that breakout season, did that help you cope better with the hamstring injury that you had and an interrupted pre-season coming into this year?
Well, it's actually probably stressed me out a bit more because my expectation on what I could deliver, and all of a sudden I knew that I could play the game and I was enjoying it more, and I was thinking to myself, well, all of a sudden I've learned how to play and I can have fun, but I can't physically get out there and do it. And it made me a little bit worried because the last time I had the tendonitis was at the end. I got it halfway through 2010 when I was playing some reasonable footy, missed most of that pre-season, and the next 2 years I was pretty useless because I just wasn't training at all. I was just getting through training sessions to play, just surviving games. And you can't compete at this level if you're with that kind of conditioning. So I was thinking in my mind, oh no, I hope I don't take steps backwards again. But I came back really fit from the off season, so I think that held me in good stead. Despite the fact that I couldn't train, I still had that base fitness. So when I did finally get back to playing, I'm still a little bit off where I need to be, but not far enough off that it's affecting my performance.
I think that's the really good point, Jacko. You've come back in and you've had an immediate impact, and it's hard to do. People at home and listeners probably don't realise if you don't do a full pre-season, it's hard just to come in and go bang, but you pretty much have. You're not far off probably where you were last year already.
Yeah, which I was a bit concerned about that. I literally played a game and a half since that final last year before I played against the Bulldogs the other week, and I'd only just scraped through that half game and that full game. And as you know, like when you were playing, but also probably now sitting on the sidelines, there's no such thing as giving a guy a little bit of extra room because he's underdone. No one takes into consideration an injury or a little bit of the fact that they've missed something. If you go out there, you've got to be prepared to play. And so I was nearly on very close to playing that Carlton game, but we had a conversation, and the emotive side of me wanted to be out there and play in a huge game, but we had to sit down with the medical team, and the decision was that after 6 months having played half a game of footy, you're not going to be able to tolerate it. And looking at how tired the guys were at the end of that game, I wouldn't have survived. So I've been pretty happy with how the first 3 weeks have gone, or 4 weeks for me, because 2 6-day breaks as well is pretty brutal on your hamstrings, and I've pulled up from that, and now we've got 10 days, so that'll help. Yeah.
The other good thing about having you back on the side is that the leadership has been questioned, on-field leadership especially, having you back, but also with Rance and Lids out of the side sort of helps having you back in there to sort of help with that leadership aspect as well.
Yeah, it was actually, I really enjoyed my game and a half playing down in the Richmond reserve side because it gave me, I guess, a little bit more insight as to what influence an older player or a leader can have. When you're out in the big games in the AFL, it's very hard to actually see what difference you're making. It's loud, everyone knows what they're doing, everyone knows the structures, but at the level below, when you can hear everything, and if no one says anything, that's quiet, and also you notice when younger players don't know where they're setting up, that if you as a leader can use your voice a bit more to set them up, then the team performs better. So actually, it was a good opportunity for me to realise that I guess the role we have as leaders of the footy club. I know that's probably a little bit of a simple thing to say, but I guess realise the impact you can have just by speaking more. So my focus the first few weeks has really been to try and drive the other guys around me, because as I get older and slower, if I can make players around me better, then I don't have to pull so much weight and hopefully not throw my body around quite as much. And eventually I won't be needed in this team anymore, but hopefully my legacy will be that there are other players who are better off because I played with them.
Yep.
Obviously, it's been a slow start for the team this season. What will the team get out of the win against Brisbane last week? Notwithstanding the fact, obviously, Brisbane's winless and very undermanned at the moment, but just the fact to get the win, get a fair bit of confidence out of that.
Yeah, look, the reality is at the moment we're physically fit, we're more than capable. We've brought in new talent. Our younger guys have had a bit of extra experience, so we've got no excuses. What's happening? It's between our head, between the ears. It's footy's a lot of it is played up in your head, and we haven't been winning the battle with ourselves, I think, there more than anything. And on the weekend we showed that we got back to a bit of our exciting attacking football, which is what we need to do. We've been a little bit too reticent to move the ball down the field, I think, over the first few rounds, and why that is I'm not really sure, but it's just sort of, I guess a lot of it's confidence. Footy's about confidence again, and last week I think we found a little bit of that. We've still got a long way to go, but I think the more we can play with confidence, the more the confidence will come. The old chicken and the egg theory. And the last 2 years when we played against Hawthorn, that's when we played some of our best attacking footy. And the pressure stuff and the defence has definitely been there as well. But when we've had the ball, we've made them defend, and you have to do that because they're such a class outfit. So that'll be a real challenge this week.
Yeah, two teams, Hawthorn and Geelong, coming up. Clearly, I think the two best teams in the comp. As we speak, you talk about playing between, the game between your ears. That's what it is this week. I reckon you just let that go. The expectation of winning's probably not there like it has been over the first 4 or 5 weeks. It may give you that freedom, Jacko.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look over even the final last year, for example, we started a game with, I guess, the world was our oyster, and we just relaxed and we played some great footy. We were smiling at the start of the game when the crowd was singing the song. I just felt like it had a good, relaxed atmosphere going into the second half, and this has happened in, I think quite a few games over the last couple of years. When we get a bit nervous and the game's ours to lose more than anything, that's when we start to play that slower brand of footy, which doesn't suit us. Like you said, Rick, going in these next 2 weeks, people aren't going to expect us to win. We've got everything to gain, nothing to lose, and so we may as well just throw it out there and start playing our free-flowing footy. But as I said before, that first thing first, we've got to do the hard stuff, and that's what we pride ourselves on: crashing and bashing, tackling, putting the pressure on. But that's got to be coupled with the attacking side.
You mentioned before, Jacko, about some of the impact that some of the young guys have had on the team, but also, I mean, a lot of the new guys, including Matt Thomas and Sean Hampson, also Lloydie and Nath Gordon as well. You must be pleased with the impact they're having.
Yeah. Well, Tomo, he's been fantastic. He, I guess, probably filled a void without me and Tucky playing for the first few rounds, and then it's been great to have another big body out there. I always loved playing with Tucky because you knew what you were going to get from him. Tomo's exactly the same. You just know he's uncompromising in the way he goes about attacking the ball, so you can just back, a Kochi might be able to peel off a little bit earlier, knowing that Tomo's going to have that contest. Hammer in the ruck's just amazing, especially with Ivy out. What a pickup by the boys. If we didn't have him at the moment, we might be struggling. And I think he wins 80% of the hit out, so we actually as a midfield probably need to be helping him more by capitalising on his great work. Flash Gordon, Nath, he's been a ripper. He's a very, very funny guy. And he
had to be his nickname, Flash.
Didn't it? And what a nickname.
Great.
He's grown to that one. And he's come in and played that kind of footy as a sub. He just comes on and runs like you wouldn't believe. He tested well over the summer, but his game running for a young guy, often guys will test well, young blokes, and not run that well in games.
He did 7 Ks, didn't he?
That's extraordinary.
When he came on the other night.
In less than a half, and like high intense Ks. That's why he's kicking these goals, and just a good finisher. And then my boy Sammy Lloyd. So I'm going to take a little bit of credit.
Is that right?
He's had a pretty good start to his career because I don't know if you know, but he actually lives with me in Danny.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah, so
we go.
the pre-game routine and all that kind of thing. Well, part of it, but I don't know that.
Don't teach him too much.
Take the credit.
What about some of the other young players on the list that we haven't seen a lot of this season that you have really high hopes for?
Who do you want to know about?
Well, maybe the likes of, obviously, Matty McDonough's had a little bit of a taste of it, and Ben Lennon and
Mariana.
and even like Camden McIntosh and a few of those players that.
We'll Plugger, Matty McDonough. We called him Plugger because his skinnies were big, but he's quite a fit, lean athlete now. But what you do, if you get stuck with it, you're stuck with it. He showed some really good footy, I thought, in the NAB Cup games. So he's coming along. The best thing is, I guess, for these guys, we don't need to rush them in because we've got some in the past we'd get young guys in because we wanted to get games into them. Now I think it's better that we let, a guy like Benny Lennon, for example, star player. I think a few years ago we probably just would have played him, just put him in the side because we've got nothing to lose. But now you actually can impact, I think, a bit of their confidence if you bring him up too early, and by letting him play underneath Timmy Clark and underneath all the coaches down here at Punt Road for a little while longer, I think it'll only help him. So no rush with him, but star quality player. Bickies, Matty Arnott, I thought has really, his issue has never been his hard work and his dedication. His is exactly what we said before. It's between the ears, and he's probably a little bit rash and a bit too excitable on and off the field in the way he goes about things. He's always in a rush to get it done. He's just an intense guy and he wants to be the best. But he seems to have taken the foot off a little bit on that side of things, and he's playing a lot smarter football, which that's what made me a better footballer, was slowing things down and thinking my way through the game and not getting myself in trouble with suspensions, but also using the ball better. And I've noticed that with him the last few weeks. He's just listening a lot more, and I think he's coupling that with his hard work and that the crazy intensity that he lives his life and the way he plays his footy, he'll make a very, very good player.
And Jacko, you've always had a great balance. You've studied and you get involved in plenty of things off the field. Tell us about a few of those. The PA, the charity work you do. And what's the next step for you? Be the next Brendan Gale, I think. Just take over from the Chief.
Then the Chief rolls into the big Chief's job.
Yeah, I think it's just little Chief.
It's inevitable.
Just follows big Chief.
Yeah, inevitable.
What am I doing at the moment? Well, on the PA, actually, we're looking for a new CEO. So we've got an interim one in Prender at the moment. So that's been interesting. We're going to be sitting down soon and going through some different candidates. And
so you get involved in the interview process?
Myself, Luke Ball, who's our president, and Sully. We're sitting in there with a few of the guys in the advisory. So it's been quite interesting to see the CVs of these calibre of blokes. So that's that part. And then there's always a few charity things going on. I'm on the board of Ladder, which is the AFL players' charity of choice, which I think Bowdo was the one who started with Bolts years ago. So that looks after youth homelessness, which has been good, and Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is mentoring. And my interest in that, I think, just comes from what it's like at a footy club. You pretty much learn everything from the older guys, and as I've got older, I've learned to hopefully do a little bit the same, pass my wisdom down, and been applying that off the field a little bit, which is a bit more difficult with some young people you meet along the way with their backgrounds and upbringings and the challenges that they have. But the footy club's great with that stuff. We had a meeting yesterday and we heard a little bit about some of the stuff the KGI's been doing and AMF, given what's happened this week. So it's a good environment to actually be able to give a bit back. And a lot of the guys have been really proactive with that lately.
You've been involved with Headspace as well, is that right?
Yeah, and Headspace for mental health. There's a new one open up in Hawthorn the other day, so I went down there, which is good. And we used to do very special kids, so I still get involved down there. Okay. Ricky would have been down there. That's a tough one too, with the young families losing their kids.
Absolutely.
So all this stuff going on, mate, have you thought about what happens after footy? Or are you just going to keep your options open at the moment? I'm not ruling you out, mate. You've got plenty of years left.
I'm getting old, mate.
Sounds like you are a little bit.
Hang on, mate.
He's always got a knife in my You wouldn't know what to do with that if you couldn't throw me in front of your press conference.
Spot on.
The big guy before, we're talking about holidaying and stuff, and I think when you've spent your whole life playing football, it's kind of like living in a fishbowl, and as good as it is, I think at some point you need to jump out of that fishbowl and go explore. So I've always been one to get out of town for 6 or 8 weeks at the end of the year and do my training in another place, but that's not quite the same, I think, as going away for 6 months, 12 months and really exploring some other parts of the world. And I know I'll come back here one day, and I reckon now that I've spent so much time in the game, I'll probably get back involved in some capacity, whether that was PA or club or AFL or another sport. I think sport's going to always have to be a part of it, but first and foremost, I think I'll disappear and have some fun.
Yeah, fair enough. Where would you go? Where haven't you explored yet?
Oh, it's a good question, actually. I think I've ticked all the continents
off. Been to Africa yet?
Yeah, been to Africa. I went South Africa and did Kilimanjaro, and went over to Zanzibar. I'd like to go to North Africa. I haven't been to the Middle East, but Ray Babbitt Hall, he had an impromptu wedding a few months ago. He literally gave me a week and a half's notice because just 3 days after that impromptu wedding, he decided he'd just taken a job in Amman, Jordan, as a foreign diplomat. So he's going to be there. So I'm thinking I might swing through this year and visit him in Jordan.
There you go. Well, talking of the opposites of foreign diplomats, Jake King.
No
He's about as far away from a diplomat as you can get.
very true.
How are you and Jake friends? I just don't understand this.
It's a good question, mate. It's a good question.
Yin and the yang, isn't it? Yin and the yang.
The only way I've ever been able to explain it is what Jake isn't good at, I am good at. That's spelling and speaking and common sense. And all the things that I'm not good at, he's a star at, like fixing stuff and finding things off the back of trucks and dealing with,
breaking into cars and things like that.
So we really balance each other out. It is quite funny. Like, we've got a little rat pack, and Ty Vickery is a part of it. they're actually living together at the moment. I was with Kingy, now I've got
Yeah.
my place again. And no one can understand it. I can't really understand
I
it
don't
either.
get that.
You see some unusual types come through footy clubs, don't you? And I guess
That's the odd couple. That's fine.
And I think he did have to change your tyre one day, Jacko, which sort of just sums it all up, doesn't it? You haven't got
I
time
had
for that
thongs on
stuff.
and I couldn't get the
No,
bloody thing done.
that's way beneath you, mate.
Yeah.
He does most of my stuff. I need him
that's
to fix something in my shower, so if he's tuning in, hurry up and get that done, mate.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He probably doesn't tune in. That's all right. Hey, thanks for coming in, mate. Spending a bit of time with us.
Big 150
And
for
good
you.
luck, yeah.
We celebrate with a win.
Will there be? Will I be on the banner for 150?
You should
Oh,
be.
I
Can we
reckon.
tell him to not make the hair too red? Everyone's hair is red on a banner, but let's not make it more red.
Jacko, just a bit of it. 150, no chair off for 150.
Yeah.
No way.
It's only,
All right.
only 200
At
plus.
least you've got no kids you can come out with either. And can I say, why don't you go through? Why don't the players go through the bat? Why don't you burst through the banner anymore? What
Do you know how hard it is to run through that banner? It's
It's
all
crepe
tape.
paper.
No, it's not. It's crate tape and bloody industrial strength tape. I purposely go last because I got coat hanging a few times early in my career. I walk through very, very cautiously.
See, just never happened in the halcyon days. Just burst right through it.
Yeah, the banners don't tear anymore. They do a good job, the two
Yeah,
these
that's
days.
right. Fair point. Well, all the best.
Anyway, it's been fun.
Good luck,
We'll
mate.
do it again.
Thanks, Jacko.
Geez, good value for an
he's a
interview,
good
isn't he?
back. And there's no doubt in my mind, there's no doubt that one day he will be in the Chiefs spot here.
Yeah, and
He
said,
will be running this club one
he
day.
said he'll always come back to
He'll
football.
gravitate to this
Yeah.
club too.
He could probably be CEO of the AFLPA as well as playing.
Oh, look, he could be CEO.
He'll
here
do
as
whatever he
well.
wants,
Yeah,
Jacko.
he could.
He'll do whatever he wants.
He could be hosting his own TV show. Who knows?
Yeah, well, thank you for coming in because he's
Nah,
a
he's
very busy man.
good. He is.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
I've had a gutful.
What's wrong?
I've had a gutful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, yeah, the Tigers haven't had the greatest start to the year. It's been well documented, and we understand that, and we know we've got a couple of tough games coming up. But over the weekend, over Easter, busy weekend, I did 3 days of radio, Saturday, Sunday,
I know
Monday.
your eyes are showing it too.
I know, my minsties look like yours today. And all anyone wanted to do was bag Richmond, say
Yeah.
how pathetic the game was, and it was the worst game in history,
Yeah.
and, and how bad are Richmond going. Well, guess what? It wasn't the worst game in history.
No.
Because there's been plenty worse games, and I saw a worse game the next day, Melbourne and Gold Coast.
There you go.
And there's some other teams that aren't going as beautifully either. Essendon, who are meant
where
to
are
be
they?
a top
They're
4
2
team,
and
they're
3 as
2 and
well.
3. But people just want to focus in on Richmond.
Yep.
It's Richmond
I know,
bashing,
and
and
Mike
I've talked
Sheen
about
wasn't
it
even
before.
here. He was away.
No, he wasn't even here. So imagine if he had been here, it would have been even worse.
Yeah, even worse.
I'm just getting a bit sick of it.
Yeah, come on, like, just, like, why? What? Because they just...
Because
it's a story for them,
It
isn't it?
is. They're looking for a
Just
story.
incite.
And they need to bash Richmond.
Negativity.
And I'm sick of it, and I guess I'm going to have to get used to it.
I'll give you an
working in the
example,
media.
Matthew.
Yeah.
In my job here as the media manager, I had to organise a couple of interviews on Saturday for radio pre-game.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe the negativity towards the players and the questions they
Yeah.
were getting. It's
Yeah.
just, you would have thought even just, I know the win wasn't pretty and it was
The game
scrappy.
by 43 points. If
Yeah.
someone had said before the game you win by 40, you'd take that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
43
But do you
points.
expect to, let's talk about how the leaders, because the leaders got canned and then all of a sudden they're not talking
No,
about
we
the
don't.
leaders standing up.
No, because that's not a story.
No.
No.
They're not talking about Jack Rewell kicking 4 and
No.
having 15 touches. It just, it was just,
always find something.
yeah. Anyway,
Anyway.
that's the
Easiest
world we
thing
live
in the
in.
world. To
Get
be
used to
critical,
it.
isn't it? Easiest thing in the world.
Get used to it.
The world we live in. What have we got next?
We'll look at the
We're gonna
Hawks.
preview the Hawks game.
Yeah.
They're a pretty good side. They're flying at the minute, aren't they? Except they had a little hiccup against the Cats, but we're going to face a pretty fired up Hawks this
Who
week.
do we get back first and foremost?
Well, Rancy might be a chance.
Yeah,
Isn't he?
well, we've
be
got to
handy.
get through. What is it? Another 2 sessions. So
Yeah,
main session
obviously we
tomorrow.
don't play till Sunday,
Yep.
so...
I can
it's
see
pretty
some
early.
opportunities there, though.
Yeah?
Our good record against them, that
Can
does
we-
count.
Can we stretch their backs?
That's the big thing we've got to do. If Lake may well come back, he probably will
You think
come
he
back.
would?
Might be
yeah.
a bit underdone.
But if he doesn't, I saw the Geelong team expose Hawthorn's defenders by getting them one-on-one. They separated the Geelong defenders.
Yeah.
They didn't let Josh Gibson jump all over Jack Hawkins, Tommy Hawkins, and
Yeah.
he absolutely annihilated Kyle Chaney. And I felt for him a little bit because he was
Yep.
undersized.
Yep.
But Gibson couldn't get over to help. And if Jack could get isolated if he did have Chaney,
Yep.
that's an opportunity.
Well, given that we've went smaller and more mobile for the Brisbane game, do we now change that up and go with an extra tall up forward?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I'd stick with the same
You
forward
expect
structure.
Lake to come back in, so that covers.
Yeah, yeah.
Chaney doesn't have to go to the tall. So
But Martin's dangerous down there,
Yeah.
obviously, for us.
yeah,
And
But the
Benny
key-
Griffiths might be a big chance for Ben Griffiths.
No
Yeah.
matter what
Find out.
their their setup is, whether late comes in or not. The key is you have to keep them separated, and if you do, I think you can score against them. Geelong have shown that.
The other important thing, obviously, will be to have the confidence still to take the game on, isn't it? And not chip the ball around as much.
And you have to,
as much.
you have to pressure them up, because if you allow them to use their foot skills, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Matthew, the 10-day break versus the 6-day break, does it, in modern footy, do you reckon that has an impact?
It may have a little impact. A little impact. That was a pretty tough game, obviously, Geelong and Hawthorn. So we should be fresher, but I think you need to have 2 or 3 short breaks in a row before it really becomes a major factor.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair enough. The other big aspect of Hawthorn's game is their spread of goal kickers. They've proven earlier this season that they've had... Richo, you told me his tap before.
Yeah, well, in 4 of their 5 games, they've had 10 plus goal kickers.
Yeah, there you go. So tough job for the defenders. They've got so many options. They've got Luke Brewster's kicking goals.
Yeah.
Gunston, obviously, in great form. Roughhead, who hasn't really hit his straps in the last couple of weeks. So you'd expect a big job for our defenders.
Who would take those forwards?
Well, I think you put your number 1 defender on Gunston at the moment, because he plays the deepest, probably, most consistently. He looks like their most informed forward, so I'd play my number 1 defender on him. So whether that's Rance coming back in or Astbury.
Okay.
But Roughhead's dangerous, and then you got Hale who drifts down there. So it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, they want to get Rance back into that side as soon as they can, because he's really important influence in the backs, leadership-wise, but also he's he marks the ball from opposition. He reads the play so well, so it'd be good to have him back in the side. Let's have a quick chat about the VFL. It's not too much positive news to come out of a 70-point loss to Williamstown. Of course, that game got moved to Williamstown. That was on Saturday? Saturday or Sunday?
That was on Saturday.
Saturday, yep. So the boys went down heavily, but there were a couple of impressive performances, and no surprise to anyone who listens to the show that Anthony Miles had another great game. 31 disposals and 6 clearances. So
he's a ball magnet.
He is. Continues his great form. The story out of the game was Jake Batchelor, who had 30 disposals off half-back. So that's a great result for him. And he
sort of forgotten about Jake a bit, haven't we?
Well, you wonder if he might then be right in contention to come in this week.
Yeah, well, he's putting his hand up, no doubt about that.
He's a very good intercept mark, isn't he?
He is. He reads the play very well. And by all reports, he was hard and tough and did all the right things on the weekend, so that's good news for him.
That's good news.
Ben Lennon's the other one. He had 28 touches, so that's probably his best game for the VFL so far.
He's getting closer.
Well, as Jacko said, it's been great that we've been able to keep him in the VFL until he's absolutely ready, and he's knocking the door down now.
We have heard Jacko, well done. We've got my run sheet mixed up there, Tone.
What are you saying? We didn't do Jacko live?
No, we don't do most of our interviews live. Cut that out later, Scott, don't worry. Matt McDonough and Brett O'Hanlon. O'Hanlon, who had a great game last week and who's been in some good form.
He's
had
another one that's a bit forgotten.
20 disposals. Matt McDonough, who we can't forget about too, he had 20 disposals as well. And Liam McBean, who missed...
Stringbean.
Yeah, Stringbean, who's back in form, kicked 3, had 11 touches, so good to see him impacting as well. So... just trying to think who the VFL boys play this week.
They
Frankston.
have got Frankston. Now,
Frankston.
when we were along with Coburg, down at Franger, when we were at Coburg, along with Coburg, we had the worst record of all time against Frankston.
That's right, yeah.
We could not beat them. So
Down at
hopefully
Franger.
the standalone... Yes, down at Franger. Yes.
So...
Did Gary Frangalis play for
Franger was not at Franger, I don't think. I think he was a Dandenong boy for Franger.
Oh, good luck to the boys down there this week. Tone, I know you're getting your things ready for the time machine, but
chafing at the bit.
Just hang on.
Let's get through it. Let's get 2 more little things to do first.
I know that.
Firstly, this week's game against Hawthorn, it's hang on, where are we at here? I'm always down to club news. I'm going to do club news now. All right?
Oh, okay.
Get to the game against Hawthorn, you can win a Jeep. It's the last chance you can do that. There's a Jeep Wrangler up for grabs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's big. So all you got to do is turn up, swap your membership card, and you can take part in the Drive Home Challenge. And you can actually turn up and actually, Tone, listen please.
Yeah, I know, I am listening. Yeah.
You can actually go alongside Richmond players, and there's a little challenge that you do.
What
and
do
then
you
you can handballing and
does
kicking.
it involve a laser at all?
Well, you got to handball to the player who then has to kick a goal and handball through a
out
target.
on the field?
Yeah. Not on the MCG.
Oh, sorry. I
they
thought
do
you
it
meant during
down
the
here at
game.
Richmond.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was getting a bit confused there.
I do it down here at Richmond. So,
okay. Yeah, good.
So just get to the game this week. It's the last chance to do that. $45,000 Jeep Wrangler. Why wouldn't you want that, Tone?
Well, why would you not? Indeed.
Yes. Now, Richo,
Yes.
what have you got for us in the way of a Superboot update?
How's it going?
Oh, I'm all over this.
Who were you on last week?
Who was I on? Seriously, I've forgotten.
Of course.
No, was I on Jack?
No, I think you're on Nick Rewalt, weren't you?
I was on Tommy Hawkins.
His
You know
weekends.
what? I played my card too.
His weekends are too. No, you didn't.
Didn't I?
No, your weekends are too big. You write
Yeah,
stuff and then you don't
yeah.
even remember what you
Mate,
write.
No,
If
well,
you had
he's
as
very
much
busy
on
man.
as I did, you
Seriously,
couldn't
how many
possibly
hours
remember.
of talkback did you do?
Did 9 hours.
9 hours just
So
to
that's
talk
why
back.
it's just slipped
Yeah,
my mind who
fair
I had as my Super Boot card.
Fair
Hey,
enough.
but anyway, it was good this round. The big boys were back. Travis Cloak, John O'Brown, our man Jack, and big Jack Hawkins, the other Jack. All
Tom
kicking.
Hawkins.
No, well, it's Jack. They call him Jack.
Do they?
Yeah, like
Call
his
him
dad.
Tom Hawkins.
They all kicked a few goals, which is what we want, the big boys. So
Well,
the
that's
leaderboard...
what it's about, Superbird, kicking goals.
It is.
yeah.
So the leaderboard is now L. Wilson, still on top on 33.
L, is it AL or just
L. Wilson.
As in,
L. Wilson.
Not sure for
Could
Alistair
be
or
Larry.
Alan or
Could be Len. Could be Leanne.
could be Lionel.
Ace Sultry.
Lorenzo.
Yeah. Ace Sultry is second on 31 goals. And X Wills. is
X?
On, yeah, could be Xavier Wills.
Well, what
on
else would
30
it
goals.
be?
I don't know. What else starts with X?
I reckon Xavier might have it covered somehow. Unless it's
Hey, but listen, Tone, listen.
Yeah,
this is
sorry.
big news.
It is.
Congratulations to Nicholas Kay. So we've got his first name, but not his last. Everyone else we had last and
Nicholas
no first.
Kay.
He's from East Doncaster, and he has won our first monthly prize.
Oh, well
Yeah,
done.
what does he win?
$400.
$400
Oh, it's tremendous, Nicholas.
$400 cash.
Seriously, that's just pick one player a week
Fantastic.
for a month and you get $400.
And remember to log in at www.thesuperboot.com.au or give us a follow at the Superboot.
Hey, I reckon
It's
even
a
you,
follow.
I reckon even you can play that game, Tone.
No.
Even a
Do
man
you
of
reckon?
your online skills could do that.
What do I have to do?
Don't worry about it.
I'll tell you every week. Just got to pick
I-
one player.
I tend to switch off when you're talking.
Focus on your strengths, mate. Why have you got so many pieces of paper?
Mincies are playing up today too. No, we're going back. We're going back in time, which is the whole idea of this, isn't it? It's a time machine. That's why we're going back. We don't go forward, do we? That'll be. I might do that. Just
Yeah.
go forward one week.
Yeah. Hopefully we've won a flag then.
I'm not going forward too far. No. So we are given the fact that it's Anzac Day on Friday, very solemn occasion, of course. We are going to reflect on one of our great former players who died in battle representing the country.
Yep.
William Nicholas Pax Cosgrove, or better known as Bill Cosgrove,
Oh, yeah.
who is the uncle of our new Governor General, Peter Cosgrove. General Peter Cosgrove is the new Governor General. So Bill Cosgrove was actually born on November 11, 1918, which was Armistice Day, Remembrance Day. So that's why he was given the middle name Pax, which in Latin means the kiss of peace. So he was born on Armistice Day, pardon me, went on and was educated at Xavier College, played for the Old Zabs. That's where he was first spotted by Richmond recruiters. Recruited to Richmond. He was a talented, courageous centre-half back. Came down to the club and played in the reserves in 1939. And he was selected to make his senior league debut in the opening round of 1940 against Footscray here at Punt Road Oval. He went quite well. He lined up on a future Brownlow medalist, Norm Weir. Went really well. He made a couple of more senior appearances with the club before enlisting in the RAAF during World War II, and he trained as a pilot. So he got his pilot's wings and he flew important missions over Abyssinia, Libya, Iraq, Burma, Sumatra, Java and New Guinea. And he became really well known, renowned for his daring aerial skills, and he earned the rank of flight sergeant with an RAF Beaufighter unit. And the inspiration behind all his acts of heroism was none other than the greatest tiger of them all, Jack Dyer. He absolutely idolised Dyer, so much so that he named his Beaufighter planes after him.
Did he have it written on the
He
side?
did. He had it written on the side. It had "Eat 'em alive" on one side with the tiger's head, and up there Jackie
good's
Dyer.
that?
So, yeah, absolutely idolised him. So flew the planes obviously in combat and everything. So he went on and had several missions that he fought. That he fought. Sadly, he lost his life. Was killed off Goodenough Island in New Guinea just 6 weeks before the 1943 grand final. Richmond ended up making their grand final that year against Essendon, and they actually dedicated that grand final to memory of Bill Cosgrove, who'd been shot down and killed in battle, and got up and won that grand final by 5 points against Essendon. And Bill Cosgrove's legacy lives on today as the best first-year player. It's the Cosgrove Harry Jenkins medal, so it's named in honour of Bill Cosgrove. So a great Tiger and a great Australian who served his country so well.
Yep.
Well done, Tone.
Well done, Tone. Good segment, that.
It is.
Going well.
He knows what we
I've
want.
nailed it now, you reckon?
And it's going to be probably the linchpin now of this show.
We might move it up the order even if
Really?
it keeps going that
Up
well.
the batting order?
Yep.
Will the gags get any higher?
No.
Oh, okay. Did you hear about the soldier, seeing we're talking about Anzac Day, the soldier who survived mustard gas and pepper gas?
No.
He's now a seasoned veteran. Did you hear about the huge paddle sale at the boat shop?
No.
It was quite an ordeal.
Oh gosh.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know how he's still got. I don't know how he's still got.
A mate of mine used to be addicted to soap. Yeah, but he's all clean now. You know, the other day you get a bit bored sometimes, so I googled impotence the other day. I googled impotence, but nothing came up. Did you hear about the comedian who stopped at the fabric store on his way to a comedy gig? He was looking for new material.
That's good.
Look at his post-its.
Final one. I went to a Chinese restaurant the other night, but the lights were too bright there, so the manager decided to dim sum.
Oh, that wasn't very tasteful, that gag, Tom.
Oh, boom, boom.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us again for Talking Tigers. We probably went a bit overtime today with Dan Jackson. We should, because he's a tremendous young man.
He's a wonderful
Get to the
human being.
MCG on Sunday.
Yes,
for
get behind the
Richmond
Tigers.
Hawthorn game. It's our home game, so get there.
Go Tigers.
And let's hope that the boys get the job done.
I reckon Ken's going to be looking forward to seeing me when I get home.
No.